seconds
Hello
remaining.
and welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Game 3 of the Grand Finals of the Star Ladder North American Playoffs. This is going to be compLexity Gaming up against Archon. We saw Archon take a convincing Game 1, followed up by compLexity answering back with their own convincing Game 2. Who's going to be giving us the convincing side this time? Who's going to be able to take it home? Who's going to be able to get their shot at the $300,000 prize pool, glory, and everything else that you possibly can win in the Minsk Arena in Belarus? I'm Lyrical Dota, joined today by TraLF. What are your thoughts right now, my man?
Well, I'm happy to see Game 3. That's always fun and more epic. And I'm actually happy to see compLexity ban out the Alchemist, even though they destroyed it last game. And Heroes, it can be fun to watch every once in a while, but it's getting a little stale, at least for me, who sees it in every friggin' pub game. So that's a nice change for me. But Archon, they ban out the Wisp. I gotta say, they definitely don't, at least in that one game we saw, maybe it was just a fluke, but I think compLexity certainly ran the Wisp a lot better, and they don't want to give them the Wisp, and they don't have first pick, so they don't want to take it themselves, or they can't take it themselves without allowing compLexity to first pick it. So they're thinking about the next ban. They're banning out the Quap. They really don't want Archon to get their Quap. And Archon with the first overall, I wouldn't be surprised to see a Doom yet again. They did it very, very well in Game 1. They have the option to yet again. There is, of course, the Darkseer for compLexity. There's Undying up there, too. But, yeah, they played it so well in Game 1. Why change it?
Totally, it makes a lot of sense. I mean, we did also, this is going to leave open that Darkseer for compLexity, who ended up playing it. Well, it wasn't the best for them in that first stage. But Ancient Apparition, another hero that is a possibility. They end up taking the Slardar first, going to try and take advantage of that armor deficiency that Doom does have before he ends up being able to itemize to deal with it.
Maybe a Dazzle here too, because they know that they go with the Undying, which was up there as well. I wouldn't be surprised to see Archon again take the Dazzle. I thought that was a very nice pairing of Game 1. But we'll see.
Well, it's kind of an interesting mirror of what we saw before. I don't believe that they had Slardar. I think that what they ran for compLexity was the Darkseer Undying combo.
Right.
And then we saw the Doom Dazzle. So kind of mirroring Game 1, but with some slight changes. And I think that Slardar might be, it sort of limits your ability to counterplay in the late game and have those sort of big combos together, but it gives you more of sort of a brawly, fighty style. And you might end up seeing something, a hero that we haven't seen this game that I'm kind of curious if it would fit well would be something like a Clockwork, but at least for now we're going to be seeing the Tiny and the Viper ban.
Yep, there's the Viper ban right away after the Tiny. And this is very similar to... yeah, 2 of the 5 heroes that they had in Game 1 here for Archon. I wouldn't be surprised to see compLexity ban out the Dazzle. I think that'd be a good ban. They had the Rasta too, but I don't see them banning out the Rasta here.
5 seconds remaining.
As you mentioned, Slardar Undying is a much different beast to fight than Darkseer Undying. Because of the situation in Game 1, Undying wasn't even in the offlane. He was like mid and then went safe lane, roamed around a lot, tried to follow some heroes that Archon were amping up and getting strong. So we'll see. But I do expect like something like Dazzle to be banned out. Maybe Bane as well. Bane would be pretty good. We'll see.
Yeah, definitely will. The PL is going to be taken out this time. I think it has been banned in every game so far this series. And again, while some of these bans might seem somewhat strange to us, these teams have been playing each other consistently, and it's a chess match between Swindles and Fluff and stuff to try and figure out where do we want to go with this draft? What do we want to throw at them this time? Again, the loser of this ends up getting knocked out of the tournament and leaving here with nothing, which is very, very frustrating to say the least for a tournament that you've expended a lot of time and energy into trying to get into and trying to make your way through it. So not taking any chances. I think that it makes a lot of sense. Archon also are going to ban on out the Huskar, probably one of the most frustrating ways to lose a game. And there's the Batrider taken out.
Yeah, I was just thinking that was kind of the key ingredient to their lineup in Game 1, which was the last pick, but seeing how well it worked out for Archon, I would have expected them to take them the next 2. So I was going to say Batrider would be a very good ban there for compLexity. They have now options. Ancient Apparition is in the works. They've played that to some good success. They're going to go back for the Gyrocopter, who's had 0% success in this series so far. And not only just in the numbers, but just had no impact whatsoever in each game. We'll see if they're able to improve that here for compLexity's sake here in Game 3.
Well, I think one of the things to try and figure out for complexity is where's going to be their secondary source of damage. Because Gyrocopter, the call down, great. You're going to be able to lay that down on hopefully several different heroes multiple times, and you're going to be able to do a lot with the Rocket Barrage. But this hero on his own does need something else. You need a little bit extra oomph there, particularly in the early game. And maybe Undying is going to be that for you if you're able to get a relatively quick level 6. But if this is going to be either a support Undying or a dual offlane, that sort of 3.5 position, you're not going to be getting as many levels as you would on just that straight core Undying. And probably by the time Gyrocopter gets 6, you won't be able to have it either. And then you're not really going to be able to sort of synergize those two together. And I think that they still need a bit more damage in the mid game, or else they potentially could get ran over by what looks like it at least has the potential to be a very aggressive start from Archon.
It'd be kind of cool to see complexity run as like a disruptor. It's very, very strong in lane with Gyro. Earthshaker here, something different from Archon. Very fun to watch an Earthshaker, but I would love to see a disruptor. It's very good in lane with him. It destroys offlaners. It synergizes well with the call down with his own spells, and it can kind of hold his own. Like, he's got just a very, very nice skill set. So we'll see if that's something that they go for. But Earthshaker here picked up for Archon. Well, it could be an offlane, or it could be a 4. We don't quite know yet. Or it could be a 5 or a 6 if you're PPD. 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, something like that.
Definitely.
Rubik, all right. So Rubik, probably an answer to specifically the Earthshaker that was just picked up. You steal Fisher, it's like the best steal in the entire game to steal. There's also a Doom to steal. Honestly, Tiny's skill set's very good to steal too. You can't really steal Craggy. No. So stealing either Avid or Toss can be really, really effective. Give yourself a Slardar at a Blink at, the second you hit level 6 would be pretty cool.
Well, and also that instant disable, I think, is something that they were a bit lacking. Even Slardar stun to a certain extent. It does have that slight cast point, but the lift coming out there from Rubik is great for being able to set up anything that comes out, particularly like a Gyrocopter call down. You lift on into it and they're guaranteed to be hit at least by the first rocket as long as they're not way out at the edge. And Dazzle is going to be taken by Archon now, this pick that we were talking about earlier. Also a couple of pretty decent spells to steal here. I mean, Grave is great if you're going to be able to make it happen for Rubik. But taking out the Huskar, taking out the Batrider, there still are a couple of bans. We'll see if complexity choose to 4th ban or 5th ban here, because it's come close both times, and one of the times they didn't end up getting a ban on it.
I'm inclined to think that this is a offlane Earthshaker. I can't envision either Whitebeard or Fluff and stuff playing this. Maybe, I don't know, maybe. Yeah, and complexity thinks that too. So they banned out the Bane. Which is a fine ban. I still even love, even Disruptor for Archon would be pretty good. Like, it would help you out in the safe lane against a Slardar and Dying combo. Slardar who runs away really quickly can get just pulled right back with a level 4 glimpse, things like that. Yeah. We'll see.
It would be a little bit strange. Again, this is putting, I feel like, a lot of eggs into the Tiny combo, and I guess Earthshaker sort of supplements your damage as well if you end up running him offlane, but it's a lot of magical damage coming out from Archon if they do end up running the Earthshaker in the core role, and I guess that's just another sort of thing to be able to deal with. It's not necessarily bad, but they need to be able to at least itemize and make sure maybe Tiny ends up getting that Agnum Scepter and can farm pretty consistently. But Lina is going to be taken out of the pool this time, wanting to ensure that Tiny has a good game and doesn't end up having to play off against some of those more scary mid lane heroes. The couple of key heroes that have been somewhat absent from this series have been the TA as well as the Wind Ranger. Do you feel like either of those might be a good pick for complexity?
I think either could be a good pick, honestly. TA, the refraction gets taken off only by, I should say quickly, by like the Doom Scorched Earth, but certainly could work well with the synergy of Slardar. Certainly would be great against Tiny. Well, that being said, actually the Ava, I forgot, the Ava is pretty good against taking off those refraction charges. So Wind Ranger is certainly a fine pick. It's good against like Dazzle lineups because Dazzle often sits right behind them. Ooh, they're going to go with a Warlock.
Wow.
So a team that comes to mind that picks Warlock instantly is MVP Phoenix, but Complexity also like to pick up the Warlock. If you remember, again, back to TI4, right before in the qualifiers, they picked up a lot. And Winter Wyvern gets ignored this entire time, picked up in the 5th position here for Archon.
I'm kind of okay with that if I'm Complexity, though. That's just easiest cooldown in my life on one person. But I guess you probably don't want to commit cooldown for one person. I mentioned also the needing a little bit more damage to back it on up here for complexity, and I think this is a great answer, honestly, because now you're able to have extra damage coming down. Fatal Bonds is also wonderful for that, on top of your cooldown into the the Chaotic Offering, and it doesn't necessarily detract from the farm that Gyrocopter wants to get. You're still going to be able to put him in the jungle, and you don't have to sort of contest with a hero maybe like a Shadow Fiend or a Wind Ranger who wants to be able to farm on out the jungle as well. I like this pick a lot.
10 seconds remaining.
I do like the Wyvern too, though, because if they run, well, they're going to run the safe lane
5
Doom with
seconds remaining.
probably Wyvern helping him out, and then Dazzle sitting around mid, or vice versa. They can go either. I think Fluff is usually the one that kind of harasses mid. So that's going to give them a dual lane mid, and then that's going to be a little bit easier for complexity in their off lane, assuming it is going to be Undying and Slardar. One thing you do have to worry about, though, with complexity, as if you are anticipating dual lanes coming out, tons of pings coming out from the side of Archon, is that Rubik Gyro is actually not that scary of a lane. But the good thing for them is that they're going up against an off lane that's not very strong himself, at least on his own, and that's the Earthshaker.
Yeah.
So,
well, I think that this is definitely going to be an interesting couple of minutes here. I feel like probably if they're able to get a lift into like the beginning of a Rocket Barrage and get a second Rocket Barrage off in time, that could maybe be a kill on the Earthshaker, just because he's not as strong as some of those other very potent offlaners. Was Tusk banned at all in this game?
nope, I don't think banned or even touched at all.
Very interesting. I would have expected that hero to really make a, like, think about for Archon right now, if they ended up going for that Tusk class, it might end up leaving them a little bit vulnerable, but if you end up being able to snowball throughout the duration of a call down as well as a Chaotic Offering, you are in such a great spot. But the Winter Wyvern also very strong as well. This is going to be a trade of the runes. Limp on that Warlock, going to be able to get the bottom one, meanwhile Tiny is going to get the rune top. Now this is a matchup we don't see that often, Tiny up against the Warlock. What are your thoughts here on this matchup? Is there one side that's particularly favored over the other?
Well, straight out 1v1 Warlock would just annihilate Tiny, but this is the meta of dual lane mids. Dual lanes mid? Did I say that wrong? Yeah, I think I did. So you can never really fully expect a straight up 1v1. Whether they don't stay there the whole time, it's always going to be someone hurting and harassing someone else. And yeah, here we go, dual lane versus dual lane. This is to all the Hani viewers out there, not Hani the player, but Han the game. This was like the thing for a good 2 years, was dual lane mid versus dual lane mid. And it's kind of interesting to see the game evolve into that. It hasn't gone full blown dual lane mid versus dual lane mid, but it's getting there.
I mean, in my games, that's always tri-mid versus tri-mid.
Of course.
Yeah, it's the way it ends up playing. But
no, or it's solo mid versus tri-mid.
Exactly, that's the other one. You end up getting level 6 on a Storm, while the other two mid laners are struggling for 2. But regardless, it is going to be a somewhat interesting lane down bottom, not one that we often see, with the Undying as well as the Slardar. I think that he actually ended up missing both of those with the Decay split in the middle, so a little bit unfortunate. Regardless, it seems to me like Doom is probably not going to be able to get killed as long as he gets enough solo EXP to get on up that Scorched Earth pretty quickly. What are your thoughts?
He went double Mango, and I think he needs to, and I don't think he was anticipating this, but he did take the mana burn creep. So I'm wondering if he wants to spam this out onto the Slardar, or even hell, the Undying. The problem with that, though, is it actually costs quite a bit of mana to do so. It's 50 mana each time, and it only burns 100. So, oh, there he goes. He spams it out once onto the Slardar, who does still have a Mango. And it's actually not the end of the world for him, because Sprint doesn't even cost any mana, so he will still always have that stun available.
Definitely. Fluff and stuff now coming to contest this rune. It is going to be Undying picking up the haste and then running away. If the Dazzle was not there, I have a feeling that Undying might have wanted to go in on that. And now actually Swindles is going to make the wraparound. Fluff and stuff, nice little Arctic burn off to the side, and they're not going to be able to catch them there, but they are going to chase after Whitebeard, who doesn't have Grave, is going to need to tango dodge through the woods, make sure he doesn't get taken out, and continuing to just sort of move around up here. Top lane, Monkeys Forever, did end up throwing out the Fissure, but now is maybe going to be able to get lifted? No. Was already committed earlier in the engagement, and he's able to get out of there. That Earthshaker, and Swindles just gets pushed on back yet again by this dual range support. So the 2 melee versus the 3 ranged, or excuse me, 2 ranged, is a bit of a tough matchup here in this bottom lane.
Surprised they didn't really try to press the issue and go for a kill there with that haste on Undying. I think he was scared for a second of maybe Doom rotating and helping out, but he was spreading out his damage onto both the Wyvern and the Dazzle and didn't really hone in onto a single target. Dazzle, of course, having the poison touch, I don't know if they should have known that for sure, but he was only level 1 at the time, didn't have a Graven or anything like that, so. But playing it safe and still securing decent farm in CS onto your Slardar. And if you look at the farm overall, at least I should say the last hits overall, it's all complexity. 14 compared to the 12 for Doom, that's the most even. But then you got 14 on the Warlock compared to the 8 for the Tiny. Oh, a little bit of action here in the woods.
This is such a little funky little lane that we got going. Z-Freak is going to get run down a little bit by these creeps, and I'm just going to try and back on out of here before things get a little bit too dicey. As Swindle
just give those to the mid laner. Sprint creeps over to the mid lane. Sorry, Swindle, but we want to give our Warlock some extra farm.
Definitely, and Warlock's been able to pretty much outlast hit this Tiny consistently. 18-6 versus the 9-2. Not what you want to have happen. And Tiny also is now going to have to move on over to this bot rune and pick it on up. He was able to rune control for him, which is nice, but currently level 5 versus the level 5 of the Warlock, who is getting closer and closer to that Chaotic Offering. With this first big ulti, do you go over to a side lane and try and gank, or do you just try and get a solo kill on mid? What's your feeling on that type of engagement?
If you try to run around and gank as a Warlock, it usually becomes very, very obvious, and you probably will end up wasting your time. So I would say sit in mid, wait for someone to come to you, or have a TP ready and get ready for a kind of a rebuttal kill or something. But trying to fish for kills with a Warlock is usually a recipe for wasting your time. I'm wondering if he goes for a Midas this game or just rushes the Ags. I think Midas is pretty damn good for Warlock. He doesn't have that many ways to farm quickly. Yeah, you don't benefit from the attack speed really, but it still kind of amps up your farm. It gives you good levels. Yeah,
definitely. And that's obviously very important for that hero who wants to be able to get up to level 16 pretty quickly, if at all possible. Right. And are going to be able to stack up here at this point for the Tiny, which is also really, really imperative for them to do well. I think that is a 2-stack on the hard camp as well as a 3-stack on the hard camp that's a little bit deeper into the woods. And it's going to allow him to catch up a little bit in terms of net worth. He is 500 behind the Warlock, so somewhat frustrating. Activates the Invis Rune. I don't think he's going to try and go for any type of kills here, but is at least just going to move on over and take on out this camp.
This one interesting thing about this camp is they need to kill it quickly because those satyrs they have a huge regeneration aura. So if you don't kill them fast, it takes a lot longer to. Oh my god! The double nuke did so much damage to them.
That was scary. Oh my goodness.
That was a lot of damage. So it does take 3 members to do this, so they don't really get very much experience out of this, but they do secure a little bit of a net worth boost there for that Tiny.
I mean, this is given enough space here to let the Rubik sit mid for a little while they go and get the top rune. So it's nice to be able to get the levels up on this hero. Obviously, Rubik, particularly in this game where there's a lot of good spells to steal, is going to be really important in every team fight. Not just because of his ultimate, but also because of the lift that we talked about. And, no field is, no blast is always going to be relevant. Fade Bolt, that's the name of it.
It's okay, I'm just as bad, if not worse. The spell names. Monkeys Forever throws out a Fisher. Hanskin's really trying to catch him, but he's playing. Whoa! Instant double TP reaction here from members of Archon. Really, really quick. It ends up being kind of wasted, but you can see that the communication's there. Like, Monkeys Forever is probably saying, this Rubik's trying to lift me, just have TPs ready. And then he says, Rubik lifted me, instantly TP'd. So, ended up not really working out there, but in future instances, that could really be the make or break. And that center ward is just outside of the vision of that
bottom
ward
lane.
just placed.
Warlock ulti has been committed for this one. Now Jo trying to run away. They do end up finding Fluff and stuff here in a second, I think. He does have 30 seconds left on his TP, so they're not going to be able to get him. But that was first blood, actually. In the top lane, they left Dazzle all alone, so they end up getting that kill from the Gyrocopter. Monkeys Forever continuing to run away. I think that he does go down here to that Fade Bolt. Don't worry, guys, I got it in the end. And that's 2 quick kills right there. A nice 400 gold swinging, and well done with the committal of the Warlock ulti. And maybe going to be able to probably not kill the tower, but at least do a good amount of damage to it.
Yeah, I think they could probably. Yeah, there comes the Undying Tomb. The Winter Wyvern was sitting up there for a long time because his TP was on cooldown. He's actually made it out, and he's going to rush toward the bottom rune to maybe help Tiny get something good. But they will get this tower. So a very, very early tower, and that's an important tower. That's your safe lane one. So that means Doom's farm is going to be a little bit hindered because he has to be a little bit wary of people rotating into his jungle.
Definitely. Another 3 stack down here on the hard camp has been committed. So hopefully Archon now are going to be able to get a little bit more on this Tiny, which they desperately need. I mean, in terms of net worth right now, he has slowly started to catch up, but still 700 behind. He needs to get levels, he needs to get gold, he just needs everything. As complexity's lineup, do you actually, we're gonna have Whitebeard get jumped on yet again. He does have a grave, so staying alive at least for the moment. Calldown gonna be committed. Doom committed now into Zizzy. I think that Whitebeard gets out of here, thankfully. Jo might be able to run on down Zizzy with Handskin in the area, trying to body block. Nice play there, but look at the amount of damage that comes out.
Oh, and he gets hit
much
by the creeps too, which helps just a little bit. He does get the potion off. I wonder if they juke him and juke and jive enough so that they can't even get a kill. And they might even turn it back onto Jo. Oh, the 1-2 punch on the Zizzy, and he gets taken out. Another punch, 1-2 onto Handskin. Oh my god, not respecting that pack leader's aura. Man, the damage output with those crits is insane. I don't even know if he crit if it was just raw damage, but...
Honestly, you go there from like this situation where you're able to dodge the gank and then, oh, maybe you get the turnaround to all of a sudden, it just all goes wrong.
It was a nice
there.
idea, but like because they knew that people were coming in, but it was just too soon. They needed to wait a little bit longer, or they needed to lift him back and then kind of run away and maybe bait him into a kill, and then just kind of, yeah, bait him into it a little bit better.
So here's my question for you. It does look like Warlock is going to be going for the Hand of Midas, as we see maybe a gank potentially set up here on the Rubik in the top lane, but is it sort of one of those things where Complexity are on a timer a bit, or do you think that they can win this in the late game here?
I've seen some matchups where you would think that Warlock, like these very 5-man team lineups with a Warlock, or they have a timing window, but I've seen Warlock do a lot of damage in late game. Handskin getting rushed over here. Monkey's River not able to get this done. I don't even think he needs to, but he does secure the kill with that Fissure. But I've seen more action in mid, actually.
I think that they get away from this one unless we end up seeing... Actually, Mu has a haste rune. Z-Freak trying to dodge away from this one is going to be able to make it happen, but finally, eventually, the Avatos combo is going to be able to be committed. Swindles is actually also separated at this point. Fluff and Stuff doesn't have the Winter's Curse at this point, but they can still do a lot of damage. The call down is going to dissuade Archon from pushing this any further, and at least at this point in time, they're going to back on out. You said, though, that you think that Warlock can still do a lot of damage.
Yeah, he is so relevant late game. Like, his tower pushing potential is insane. Gyrocopter is also a huge beast in the late game. And then Gyro plus the amp damage, like that flat cannon hitting people with -20 armor, I think is what it is at level 16, is just insane. So I don't think Complexity on a timer. I think they can take this slow if they want to. They also have Roshan on their side because they're on the Dire, so there's always that to fall back on.
Definitely. Time will tell as we continue to see the net worths move on up for this Warlock. Archon are making a bit of a comeback with a couple of solid engagements, and experience-wise they are in the lead. Doom is going to be going for the maxing on out the auras, at least at this point in time, as he picks on up the drums, and Whitebeard just going to keep on doing dazzle things, stacking up camps whenever possible. And it looks like Complexity now are going to be going for a smoke on into Roshan as the pings come out for it. They definitely can take this. I mean, Limp has the ability to counter-initiate really hard with that chaotic offering, and I do think that Complexity's Rosh fighting lineup is pretty secure, as long as you don't end up getting a really money target on the Doom.
Yep, it's always easy to take this Roshan with the Slardar on your team, but they do know that something's up. Mu, he's kind of flirting with the idea, but he has no mana. He can't fight this.
I think he's just going for the rune, yeah, and kind of back on off now. Doesn't want to get caught out. You think Blink is the item here for Tiny, or does he try and go for more farmy, maybe early into Ags?
I always think Blink is the item on Tiny. I just think if you get that Blink, the Avatos combo correctly on somebody, it eliminates them. Even heroes that you think it wouldn't. It just does so much damage. So I personally always think Blink is the build. Whether you get it first or whether you get drums before, I don't think is an issue. I think both are fine. But I think Blink is the build right now on Tiny.
Okay. Well, now we end up having the last couple of items being brought out to Doom, who is looking to be going for the Vladimir's offering next. I think that's what he's going for, at least, considering the Bassi as well as the headdress. And a little bit of a lull at this point. Winter Wyvern's picked on up 6. If compLexity try and push through this mid lane, I mean, you've got Fluff and stuff here with the Soul Ring, can just mash on out the Splinter Blast, and pretty soon here is going to get level 7. All of these creeps are going to die. They're trying to wrap around over near the tier 1, and it looks like Whitebeard is going to be the one that breaks the smoke, and probably will be dying in just a second or two. There's the Shallow Grave, and the smoke breaks, and they're not going to be able to get this kill. Moo TP's in. Oh no, this might have been a bit of a mistake here. Ends up getting caught on out. They are going to lay out the Fissure, trying to keep him alive as long as possible. Nice Cold Embrace, but too much magical damage coming on out from Zizzy, as they're going to try and push this advantage a little bit further. Whitebeard needs to get out of here, and it looks like Winter Wyvern might be the next to fall if they're not careful. 700 gold swings so far. Fluff and stuff already committed the Arctic Burn. Is going to try and dodge away from this. So much damage though, and no amount of Cold Embrace was going to keep that Winter Wyvern alive, as they get 2 quick kills on the Wyvern and the Tiny, and maybe now going to be able to take the mid tower 1.
That was a really weird position of the TP from Moo. They just saw that they smoked, or even if they didn't smoke, they just saw that the Slarder was around there trying to kill the Dazzle, and he TP'd to the bottom right side of the tower, like right where they were in nighttime, so their vision is limited just a little bit. Very questionable there, and they're actually moving in towards Jail. There is a double damage up on to, he actually Dooms, and then Doom is stolen! Oh no, this could be bad. Winter's Curse does buy him some time though, as the cooldown does come down. There still is the DD available onto Ziz. He's just trucking through with tons of damage. Doom does fall. The Doom is still going onto Warlock, but he's going to heal himself back up. He's got 12 stick charges as well as a bottle charge. Fluff dies, and they still have the Doom available on... Oh no, he used it already from the
He used it onto Monkeys Forever, who just ended up wearing off. So thankfully that didn't end up giving anything, but it kept Earthshaker out of the fight. He was only able to toss in, I think, 1 fissure throughout the whole course of that. And so your 1,300 gold swing, like your tier 1 tower is about to fall, top as well as already going down mid and bottom, like... This map control is just going to go all compLexity's way, and maybe they even wait for Doom to come off cooldown on Rubik, and they're going to be able to use it again.
I think they're going to go back, farm out their lanes, push out the waves a little bit. You're so close to, you're 140 experience away from level 11 on Warlock, which is very, very important. And yeah, I think to go back and answer your question again, is that they're really not in a rush. Like, not even convinced Archon's late game is better. Yes, they have Tiny and Doom, but that's all their front line. Like, as you mentioned, their other core hero, which is their offlane and Earthshaker, is not that much of a fighter without his ultimate. And you have tons of heal. Like, you have the heal from Warlock, and then just tons of team fight coming out on the side of compLexity with the Golem and the Tombstone and the heal from Soul Rip. I think compLexity is totally fine to take it this late. There is the Blink Dagger for Tiny, so. I mean, their top net worth hero on Archon finally has his item. Now things could change. You also got a very early blink on to the Earthshaker, so Monkey's Forever has done a very good job finding his farm.
Definitely, and that can make all the difference in the world. Winter Wyvern trying to get closer and closer to level 7. It's going to boost on up that damage to 340 nuke on Fluff and stuff, and this is so great for being able to keep out these lanes pressured. And last time we did end up seeing this sort of bite him in the butt slightly, as the 3-man Smoke Ink came on over through this area, and they were able to find that kill on him. But he was almost able to get out of there. It was just that they kind of got, I guess, baited into taking that fight, as Moo ended up TPing into the mid lane. Regardless, I don't think that this is an insurmountable lead to come back from. I always am a little bit concerned about, a team's ability to play against Winter Wyvern in the late game, just because of how impactful Winter's Curse is. But like you mentioned, compLexity don't actually have the best right clickers in the world either. They're not somebody that you see like a PA or something else where you're just gonna one shot away one of the enemies of your team. So I don't know, it's gonna be very difficult to see. I think that Tiny, a lot of pressure is on this Tiny to farm up pretty quickly.
Yeah, and because you don't have a blink up onto the Doom, it's
Freak's gonna go down.
Very nice combo. There it is. That blink combo is so strong on Tiny. And I don't think Monkey's Forever even cast much except the very end, Enchant Totem at the very end. They're pinging out something. They have an Invis Warlock here for just a little bit longer. Oh no, the blink timing was not so good there from Moo. It was the same time that Swindle blinked in. The ultimate coming down, they don't have another stun to stop him, so they end up using a rock. Next to the Doom comes out on a Hanskin. They should be able to... No, they don't have a heal up, so they have to deny him, unfortunately. But it was still a Doom used.
Doom used also was able to take that away from the Rubik. Earthshaker used his his Echo Slam in that fight and did end up getting taken out for it. So kind of a bit of a strange one, but I feel like if you're able to get any type of kill in these engagements, it's pretty worth it for Archon. And they bring it back to a 4,000 net worth lead into the favor of compLexity. compLexity's still getting a little bit better in terms of the experience. And it's going to be a difficult road from here on out. I am not sure exactly. I guess the plus side is that for Archon, you only have to really worry about taking bad team fights when Chaotic Offering is back up of cooldown. They end up tossing out the Fissure, catching Zizzy on the right side of it. Nicely done there, and they don't have... Calldown's going to be committed. Jo misses the first blast from the rocket, not going to be able to get him on the second. Meanwhile, off to the side, that's going to be a jump forward, toss up in the air. They don't end up tossing him back towards the rest of his team. Moo, and does have another avalanche and toss in 8 seconds. He's going to at least commit the toss right now. That's going to be a kill on top of Limp. I think Swindle's jumping in as well. He ends up getting a 3-man crush, but everybody's already dead on his team. Stealing Tiny now. The toss from Handskin. He's going to have that. Swindle's trying to get out of here. Is going to maybe get away. The lift from Handskin on a Fluff and Stuff. What a chaotic fight. The end result at this point, at least, though, is going to be 3 heroes dead for compLexity. About to be the 4th as Dazzle takes on out Handskin. So a nice little comeback there from Archon in the sort of chaos that followed that engagement.
A huge comeback. It was basically the whole syndrome of I got to save my buddy syndrome, and then one died, then the next died, then the next died, trying to save so and so. When they could have just let the gyro die, and then this TP'd out, let him fend off for himself. If you live, great. If you don't, well, you know, it's only 1 kill. And they ended up trying to save him with the Warlock. Warlock started channeling his upheaval, and then he canceled it immediately. Tried to run with the gyro. The Fissure stun was almost saved him, actually, but the damage from Doom was too much. And then the blink in from Starter after his teammates were dead. And then the Rubik was trying to toss... It was funny, he was trying to toss the Wyvern away for like a good 3 seconds and couldn't do it. And he just ended up dying. Yeah. Very, very big fight there for Archon.
Now Fluff and Stuff jumping forward. Just going to keep on pushing out this creep wave, applying a little bit of damage and slow to Mr. Swindles, and making sure that they're not going to be able to keep these lanes pressured against Archon. I think that's probably the most important thing. They're not... It's even now in terms of the net worth, and experience-wise, Archon is ahead by about 500. So they've really brought themselves back into the game. Again, that was a fight without the Warlock ulti. The Warlock Golem was still sort of trudging around, but they didn't have that nice duration stun that comes out from it. And also, it's worth noting, Warlock is only 1,000 gold away from finishing off his Aghanim Scepter, which is going to really make all the difference in the world. Look at the size of this stack here. Oh, Zizzy's about to get an influx of gold.
Yeah, and finally there's a Gyrocopter in a game where he's got some farm to work with. And he's got the drums, which I really, really do like. I presume he's going to go for... Is this a BKB game? It could be, but he's probably going to go for the SNY first, if anything. But yeah, I imagine they wait for Roche, which is coming up shortly. They wait for the Yags on the Warlock, and then they have a very, very big timing push. So as long as they don't lose too much in terms of their own towers within that amount of time, then I think compLexity is still okay. But they gotta be careful. Like, this tiny combo is... We've seen it pick off a number of people now, so gotta be careful about it.
Do you think it's worth it for compLexity to try and apply some pressure before Aegis onto like the tier 2 mid, and so that way when they get the Aegis they can push high ground, or you think it's not even worth it to try and test that?
No, all you want is to push out lanes. You just need lanes pushed out, because if the lanes are like, if they're already hitting your tier 2 and your tier 1's gone to mid and your tier 1 is starting to get hit, like there's just no position to actually take Roche. So it's not, you don't have to get objectives now, you just need to have the lanes pushed out.
Moo's going to end up going down here. I think they have the toss on forward, stolen over. Now he's going to toss him on back. Nice grave to keep Moo alive, but I think he's probably going to still end up going down. He's managed to toss on out that avalanche, but that's going to be 2 quick kills there. Dazzle and the Tiny for not a whole lot, and compLexity, at least in the meantime, are going to be able to maybe trade away a bit of a tower here, as we do see some pressure up on the top lane. Fluff and Stuff is waiting, as is the Doom, and they're going to be able to jump forward. Doom on top of Swindles. He was able to get off the sprint, though. They're trying to slow him down a little bit. There's the Winter's Curse, not yet committed. It was going to be the Splinter Blast, and actually Swindles stays alive, at least in this point. They deny on out the tower and haven't been able to find the kill as of yet.
And another Soul Rip, and an Urn after the fact. With Soul Rip being leveled up to 4, it's only got a 6-second cooldown. So a lot of people transitioning up there. Monkeys Forever did get a tower all by himself in the bottom lane, and they're making complexity move around without committing anything and not really losing too much. So I think this is pretty good for Archon, actually.
They did just pick up now the Warlock the Warlock Aghanim Scepter. If they want to buy it right now, they can. Monkeys Forever, likewise, is going to be able to finish off a Force Staff. They don't know, neither team as of yet, that Roshan is back up, but probably will be able to scout it in just a second or two as that Force Staff is taken. Oh, near the jungle, though, they're going to be able to catch on to Moo. He's a little bit caught out, but there's not really a lot of people around here to be able to save him either. The rocket is going to connect in a second or two. It does look like Jayo's just trying to run away at this point. There's going to be one more right click, then finish him off. Gyrocopter gets the kill, and that might be enough at this point for them to be willing to go on in to take Roshan, and especially with the Aghanim Scepter up on the Warlock, I don't see any way that they come and try and contest this at this point.
Yeah, I don't think you can at all with Tombstone and Warlock ulti being up. Tombstone is just so good when you're on Dire, especially because you can place it up above this cliff, and it's just impossible to even see it. It's very rare to actually have a ward up there that's not countered already into that one main spot above Roshan if you're on the Radiant side. So the vision that you get to seeing that Undying Tomb is just nigh impossible. So.
Oh, all right, they're thinking about it. I mean, Monkeys does have the blink and the Force Staff. Are we going to see the play of dreams right here?
The universe play?
I'm waiting. I want to see it.
It doesn't seem likely to me. I really don't think they can fight this.
Yeah, they are also all spread out inside of here. complexity is very aware of the potential danger. And yeah, as we end up seeing the really good positioning by complexity, Archon back on out, Monkeys Forever going to have to leave it alone for now. They are going to maybe be able to get this tier 1 tower in the mid lane. It looks like that's going to happen. Although the glyph does end up coming out, and now they have to back out. So we'll probably get denied out.
Yep, that mitigates a little bit of gold going the way of Archon. But they do have lanes pushed up top just a little bit. Ooh. Moo is trying to push out some lanes bottom. Oh, action, nope. Blink away from Monkeys Forever.
Position in there. I mean, complexity here, they are going to be pushing on in for the tier 2 tower, and there's always the problem that you might end up running right on into a Winter's Curse or an Echo Slam. They also are now offensively weaved, so you need to be really careful about that. Z-Freak drops on down, a very nice ward there on the high ground, which is going to give pretty much consistent vision of all of this area where somebody could jump in from. And now dropping the Tombstone, kills off a couple of trees, and I think that actually that ends up giving complete vision almost. Monkeys tosses out the Fissure, and at least for now they're going to have to back on out, but nice pushment here on the side lanes from Archon.
Ooh. Yeah, they are trying to pursue this Tiny who just blinked. He's blinking away. He has it up in 5 seconds. Same exact time that Swindle has his up, but his sprint has worn off, so I don't think
literally right there, Swindle jumped on into.
Did he cancel his TP or something?
Oh no. Moo.
His TP is on cooldown for like 65. Or, yeah, 65.
He also has an urn charge on top of him. He's dead.
I think he canceled his TP or something. He is definitely dead.
Yeah, but this is 4 heroes down here at this point, and there was a bit of pressure up on the top lane. It looks like Zizzy now is going to be able to chase on after Fluff and Stuff and Jo, but a lot of heroes down in the bottom lane. I don't know if they're going to be able to get this. It's a bit of time bot, but again, that seems like a lot for sort of what's one of your main hope in terms of being able to scale into the late game in the Tiny Dyne.
That's really, really unfortunate. But yeah, anyway, because if he didn't, or if he canceled his TP earlier than that, it seems strange that he would blink into the trees and sit there instead of just, running.
Oh, Monkeys Forever top lane is going to be able to catch out Zizzy, and I think he goes down here. The TPs are coming, but they're going to be a bit late. Oh, okay, yeah, good point. Aegis down, Tombstone committed now. Maybe they chase this. Warlock Golem has been dropped. It only ended up hitting onto the Doom. There's also going to be another jump out. He's able to get out? Oh, nice play there. Doom trying to run out of there. Monkeys Forever is going to block the way with the Fissure. Really good escape at this point. All across the board for Archon.
Wow, that's a big win for Archon. Nice Force Staff away from Earthshaker. You can force people while they're TPing. It doesn't cancel it or anything like that, but it gets them out of harm's way. Can make a number of great plays with that. So, yeah, and they made him use the Ags ult from Warlock. That's a big win for Archon, at least delaying the game so they can maybe find a better engagement and maybe get some farm up on this Tiny, because he's not had a great game.
All right, 4-man smoked up by Archon. This could be the moment right now. After that TP Force Staff play, I think that they're going to be ready to try and push this one at least a little bit. The Golems are still up and alive, And if they find one pick off, you kind of wonder at this point, maybe even if compLexity try and do more of the, protecting their buddies and then they all end up dying, you would hope that they don't end up making that mistake again, which they probably won't, but still. And now realizing the inherent danger of their situation, everybody compLexity heads back home. Dizzy's just going to keep on farming on up these Ancients, and everything is hunky-dory for them, despite the fact that they did end up missing a bit of their timing. And Age is gone as well.
Age is gone, but used, and it did, I don't want to say waste some time from Archon, but it did make them address him. And they weren't able to get the actual kill onto him. So it was probably going to, at that rate, expire on its own anyway.
Right.
But I think that Gyro, the fact that he keeps, or whether it's him or someone else, and I do see his creep, so it's probably him, that they keep stacking the Ancients over and over and making sure that they constantly have this form of this good economy being brought in is very, very important.
All right, there we go. Defensive weed now laid down. It looks like they're going to be ready to push this, and realizing that Warlock ulti is not going to be up for another 50 seconds. I think that this is probably as good a time as any for them to move on in here and make this happen. Do end up having Warlock doing a little dance over there to the side, slowing everything down. Just make sure that nothing too crazy ends up going on over here. And then for Archon, if you move too far forward, you end up getting hit with an Urn Charge. All of a sudden, you're not going to be able to blink out, maybe.
Toss stolen yet again from Rubik. It's not that big of a deal this game just because you already have your blink initiation from Slardar. But yeah, he can still make some good plays with it. If he's able to get a blink of his own, which he's very, very far from, you can do your own blink combos.
Oh, Doom forward, able to get the Doom off onto Rubik. Tombstone has been dropped, and now I think probably Doom ends up backing out while they kill the Tomb. Nice crush there, going to be able to go down, and the Soul Rip to keep it alive a little bit longer. Jao's still so tanky. Monkeys Forever ends up staying alive throughout this, but everybody else on his team is gone. So much damage there. Oh, God, and now Doom goes.
That was not the initiation you wanted to look for if you're Archon. That he went and doomed, and no one else could follow up. There was... or maybe they could, but they just didn't. But it seemed very, very just too far away from the rest of his team. And you can't just doom someone and think they're eliminated like you could a patch ago, especially against heals. They have multiple heals. They have Glimmer Capes, and the second he was doomed, he had Mech, Soul Rip, Glimmer Cape, and there was not a care in the world.
Man, that is really frustrating. And I guess at this point, Archon feeling like they needed to try and make something happen with all the farm you're starting to get on Zizzy and just all of the problems that they end up running into. They needed some other way to make it happen, but at least for now, maybe they get away with just one barracks. They can still, they haven't committed a ton into that offense that they put. They still have Echo Slam up on Earthshaker. They don't have Doom, but they do have Weave and Winter's, no more Winter's Curse for another 40 seconds. compLexity are going to be content with the tier 3 tower, at least for now. Maybe thinking about a reinitiation since the Tombstone is still up for another...
They got Golem, man. I think they can just fight this. There's no point. Doom, they got Golem. I guess Doom is coming up in 15. Although their top is being pushed a little bit, that might be cause for concern, but Ziz, he's posturing like he wants to fight. He's got 3 flags left. He actually didn't use all 3 of them.
Handskin also just stole Fissure, so maybe an opportunity there. They jump on, throw a creep forward into him. Also worth knowing that the Winter Wyvern has a Blink Dagger at this point. Okay. Although no curse for another 10 seconds. So yeah, they're going to back out at least until the next creep wave. And it looks like they might be content to wait out the next Roshan, which could be respawning in a couple of minutes here, depending upon how they go with RNG.
They also have a BKB coming the way of Ziz, which just makes them infinitely stronger. So that's very good.
10k net worth lead.
Obviously, you can doom him after he BKBs, but chances are he's already cast his spells. His flak was already pressed. You can still have ways to keep him alive into that. So like Glimmer and stuff. But yeah, I mean, compLexity are in a very, very good spot. They have Dire Roshan on their side, and they just need to be a little bit cleaner with their initiations and be ready. I don't think Doom is the one that initiates this game. I think it needs to be like set up with the Fissure stun, maybe look for a good Echo, and then he comes in. And I'm not also convinced that the target to Doom is the Rubik. Yes, you don't want him to steal your Doom, but all you do is just wait and press your Scorched Earth after you Doom. It's like an instant cast. I think your target is the Warlock 100% if you can before he casts the ultimate.
They were all up. If you think about it and remember where the engagement was, it was up here near the tier 2 tower in the trees, and he might have gotten fogged a little bit by him and was just looking for one last, whoever he could end up dooming. But it definitely does become a priority. I think you sort of have to look for them, and if you can't find them, then you have to disengage and maybe even call the push quits.
Right.
But to me, it almost feels like Archon need to counter initiate to be able to really make the most of their spells, set it up possibly even with a Winter Wyvern ulti, and then follow that up with an Echo Slam. But regardless, it's a tough road to be able to find any type of initiation into this lineup, considering how good compLexity have been spreading themselves. They haven't given them the opportunity to make those huge plays.
And because this is so farmed, it's hard to just straight up initiate, because he's just got a lot of auto attack damage right now. His net worth is almost 4,000 higher than the highest in Archon. And again, the Tiny's item progression is just very, very slow. He's just getting an Axe right now. And he actually didn't have the other components onto it, so it's going to take the long trek back and then backwards to him. There is a Shiva's Guard coming out slowly, or in a second here for Doom, which is obviously great. But the progression of items for Tiny is just way too slow in the game this fast paced, with compLexity being so good about their Ancients. And I think that's really the X factor in this game, is they have been stacking their Ancients over and over and over.
Key component now. I'll also mention this. Fluff and Stuff has been doing a great job of keeping this top lane pushed out, which is now hitting onto the tier 3 tower. He is going to need to block out, but it's a great job of keeping the lanes pressured, and because of that, now compLexity has to come on back to defend. They're not just able to go straight on in for a death push down mid. They're going to at least have to come and deal with this to some extent. So now maybe you end up getting a little bit more farm on your heroes. Possibly you're able to take the initiation that you want. At this point, if you're compLexity, do you feel like you want to go in and take the top tower, or do you just go straight for mid to finish off the barracks?
Dark light.
Just because of how annoying they've been up in top, I think it'd be good to push this lane out. Even if you don't take the tower, though, like the worst thing that could happen is like you get ratted out when you're so far. Like I'm guessing what just look, you got 12,000, almost about 14,000 ahead. Because like I said last game, you never want to trade when you're ahead. You want to take every fight you can, and you don't want to give them any inch. So they need to, at the very least, push this lane out. But it's not imperative they take the tower, but it is imperative that they keep this lane pushed and don't give Archon any ability to get back in this game with some kind of cheeky Rax push play. I don't think they can, because the only person that can really damage the buildings efficiently and quickly is the Tiny, but his farm is so lackluster this game that I don't think we're going to see that.
Definitely. Earthshaker, meanwhile, pretty farmed for this hero. It does have the Blink Force Soul Ring as well as the Soul Booster. Even though he has the Soul Ring, I'm almost positive that this is going to be built into an Octarine core. Don't often see Bloodstone Earthshaker. Maybe that last little bit of supporting that you can possibly do by giving the extra HP to your team. But regardless, I think that while it's a great item and it does sort of increase the duration of the stun that you're able to make with a Earthshaker jump in, it doesn't feel like it's sort of the item that's going to be able to bring him back into the game. Honestly, if they could trade this hero in for an IO, that would probably be the thing that could bring him back in this game.
Yeah, I mean, Octarine is great. It gives you lower cooldown on your Fissure, so you can throw Fissures out a little bit more liberally. Obviously, the Echo Slam cooldown reduction is great. Action onto Zizzy, perhaps.
This is a Gyrocopter with the DD rune right now, hitting for 370 a pop, roughly, at 350. We do end up having the TP on back from the Tiny. Bottom lane pushing on in towards their towers, but they're starting to take on out these barracks. Do end up popping the Glyph now. The Fissure going to block off from the rest of the team, which means maybe if they want to, they can move forward onto the Tombstone, but at least for now, they're not trying to do it. Just keeping that little bit of patience right now at compLexity, making sure that they're not overextending. Oh man, Fluff and Stuff going very far forward. Does end up getting crushed in 2-shot right now. Oh god, that's going to end up being a quick kill. Does he have buyback? No, he doesn't. 260 more gold, and that's definitely a set of barracks right now. Don't have that huge ulti. He was looking for the possibility to come in on the back line and separate, maybe be able to bring on down Zizzy, but again with that Aegis, it's so hard to fight into this one. Another Fissure committed. That's going to be 2 hitting. What is that range on the stun? Meanwhile, they also end up dropping off the Warlock ultis. They also have a refresher up on him if they want to commit that one for a second ulti. Jo ends up going down. They doom on up Swindles, but that's going to be another set of barracks here. I don't think that there's any way that they can defend against this. Right now, your buyback status is just on the Tiny, and he's not even dead, so their ability to defend this might end up being almost it.
They just have a lot of heroes that have kind of the same role in this game, where it was similar to like the first game where we saw with Quab. or the game we saw, sorry, with DC when they picked Bob, where they like want to blink in, jump in, get the initiation, get out. But they kind of all have that same mentality. Earthshaker, Tiny, Doom. I guess Tiny doesn't, but again, this goes back to the fact that he's just very, very underfarmed compared to what he needs to be. Another blink initiation onto Monkeys Forever. He does get tossed back to his teammate for safety.
That was a good play right there.
Zombie's doing a little bit of damage, but the damage has been done structurally to the base of Archon, and the compLexity are going to walk out scot-free with 4 barracks down.
The other thing here is that Warlock held on to that refresher the entire time, always having the threat of being able to counter-initiate. So Archon lose 2 barracks. This is a huge turnaround. In terms of net worth, 20,000 roughly lead into the favor of compLexity. 20,000 experience. Item-wise, they're going to be able to build into the next set, which is just going to give them that much more of an advantage. And it's looking more and more like the only way to win this is going to be through Rat. And it's worth noting that the top tier 3 tower for Archon, or for compLexity, is right about 1,000 HP off of it, but it doesn't feel like they have the tools to be able to make it happen.
No, certainly not. They're just in too much of a hole right now. Blink daggers coming up galore on compLexity with one on a Warlock, Butterfly on Gyro, finally the blink onto the Rubik, who went treads, which is so weird to me, by the way, but he needs to get that attack speed, man. But it makes him a little bit more tanky. I guess that's fine.
Yeah.
But they just, basically, the point is they have all their items, they have everything they need. And you can see that the way that compLexity plays with the lead is much more deliberate than we've seen Archon play with the lead. When Archon had a lead, it was even bigger lead than this. It was like 30,000, and they were so scared to push. Yes, granted they won the game, but compLexity's been pressing the issue with much smaller of a lead. Of course, the circumstances are different hero picks and things like that, but compLexity are very good about capitalizing on their advantages, and I've seen that from them time to time.
Absolutely. Well, this looked like Fluff and Stuff might be thinking about one last great jump forward here. Maybe if they're able to find this point right now as I click on the side shop. Sorry about that, guys. They're going to be able to set this up. This actually is a decent little positioning for them. Limp is moving on into the trees. Is actually going to run almost into Monkeys Forever. They end up finding out Jo there. There's the Doom on top of the target that they need. Tombstone has been committed, but they take off the Warlock. Nice little pickup there. Going to be able to take out Z-Freak as well. Toss him on back after the Glimmer Cape. 1-2 right clicks. Might be enough in a second or two to take him on out, as there's another jump forward and another pickoff. So the mechanism carry goes down also, and a nice little setup there. They weren't showing anywhere in the lane.
Was Limp trying to look for them or something? Why was he over there?
I think that he was trying to do what they were doing to him.
Okay. He just happened to run into them.
Exactly.
Yeah. Unfortunate.
So 4,000 gold swing.
At least they didn't use any big cooldowns for compLexity. They still got double golem. I should say quadruple golem.
Right.
And they still got a ton of farm with a cheese up on a Gyro who's looking towards probably Satanic next. Or of course, or it could be an MKB if he really wants to just get that damage item. Nothing wrong with that either.
Oh, top lane, they're going to be able to catch on a Jo. I don't think the Slaughter or solo kills him here, though. Does end up popping a BKB, and there's the TP way. Nice.
Well, there you go.
Agnos. Also an interesting item on the jump forward. They're going to be able to actually take out Swindles in return. Rubik lifts up at the last second, steals on out the Fissure, able to turn that back over there, able to pop one on out, and it looks like the Winter's Curse is going to come down, and that's going to be enough with the Enchant Totem as they end up running away from there.
Wait, why did he cold embrace that creep? Was he like trying to cold embrace the enemy, thinking he could just keep him in place? That was kind of funny.
Possibly, yeah. I've actually, when Winter Wyvern first came out as a hero, that was something that I did, but I'm sure that,
really?
yeah, I'm sure that he had a general idea. I want to get the value regen on those creeps so he can push on in that top lane. It's definitely what it is.
Yeah, that's it.
So 1,700 net worth lead. It's starting to get chipped into. Both of the last couple of engagements from Archon have ended up working for them. Z-Freak is going to run on into the Tiny, and thinking that the rest of compLexity was right behind him, they end up traversing and getting away from there. I think it's probably the right idea, and this is, I feel like if Archon were doing this, however many minutes ago, before those barracks ended up going down, they would be in such a great spot right now.
I was just thinking the same thing. Like, they finally figured out how to play this and get small pickoffs rather than team fight, but it took them four barracks to figure it out, unfortunately. DD here being scouted out. It is taken by Fluff, which is very important because the last engagement, which led to ultimately 4 racks being killed, was a DD on the gyro. So taking that away from him, and he actually did go for the Satanic over the MKB, so he'll have a lot more sustainability in the fights.
So Dazzle Aghanims isn't something that we often see, normally because the item is just you don't end up gaining enough farm on this hero, but also I feel like sometimes people feel like Medallion is better. What are your thoughts on it?
I guess it's a counter. He obviously wants to ult his own team and not them, because of all the damage output from compLexity. It's hard for me to have an opinion on it because I never see it, like you just mentioned, so I don't know how good or bad it is.
Right.
So I just have to reserve my judgment and wait until I really see its effect.
Yeah, it increases the rate at which the armor comes back, and also I believe the armor per second.
The AoE of the spell also is just massive.
Right.
It is so big.
Oh, yeah, there it is. Took up almost my whole screen. As they do end up smoking on into Roshan, this to me feels like it might be the sort of penultimate fight of this game, depending upon what ends up happening here. Z-Freak does end up being spotted out. They're going to be able to catch him out here. Looks like he was almost AFK for a second or two. They drop one down the Warlock ulti. Tombstone on top of it. Monkeys Forever falls. Jo doesn't get off the Doom, but in the end, what does it even matter? Zizzy's still so strong in these fights. And they're able to turn it back around now. It's a Tiny who's Doom done up, and while he's big and scary, so are those golems, and they're going to right-click him down. Oh, God, it's just all coming apart now. Fluff and Stuff would love to be able to TP out. If he actually gets out, that's pretty cool, but there's the Crush realizing what was going on, and Swindle's able to pick up him. Suddenly, the buybacks start to come. Winter's Curse was not committed in that fight. Do we see a turnaround here? That's the question I have.
They are taking the top tower, which they need to actually get the Mega Creeps, but I don't even think they need Mega Creeps. Of course, they don't know that Earthshaker and Tiny don't have buyback, but they can suspect it because Tiny just bought some items. He bought a BK, or he's had this BKB. No, that was his 10-second one, and he just bought a Hyperstone, so they can suspect he doesn't have it. Jo getting initiated on. 4 golems are still there, packing a punch. That's a big, big punch too, and he gets taken out. He does have buyback. He buys back immediately, but a monster kill streak here for Zizzy, and he's still got that Aegis to boot.
Oh man, it's just too much damage, honestly. They're able to get what they needed, this gold lead that they've been able to build on up. Jo trying to get away from that homing missile. It's going to come down. But this is another big mark of it. There's the TP on in, going to be able to do a lot of damage. The fissure is stolen yet again by Rubik, and now Jo going to fall. Looking like this is just about it for Archon's road here into the ability to get into the Star Ladder Finals LAN tournament, and it looks like that's where compLexity is going to be going. Off away to Minsk Arena in Belarus. Congratulations to compLexity as GG ends up getting called.
Yep, well played by them, and I think their drafts in this, especially this last game, was just really nice. We don't see much Warlock anymore, but they played it really well, and finally we see a game where Gyrocopter can do something. And I do have to attribute it to the constant stacking over and over, and they just got so much farm out of those Ancients, and Gyrocopter was always a threat in fights, whereas in game 1 and 2 he had such a little farm that he was only a call down, and that was it. His flak just did no damage. Also, of course, the flak with amp damage on certain targets just really paid off. The big thing though was there were definitely a lot of mistakes on the side of Archon. We had a number of blunders from Tiny. That really the biggest one though was the Doom blinking in, and that was really the biggest turn. It ended up being, I think, a 5-for-0 exchange, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
In the mid game when Doom blinked past the tier 2 and doomed the Rubik, who got healed and glimmered instantly by multiple sources, and then it was all downhill from there.
Well, thank you so much, TraLF, for joining me on this wonderful journey that we've ended up going on today. I know it's a lot of time commitment to be able to come on in here and cast these. It's a pleasure having you.
Oh, thank
always.
you. Yeah, thanks for having me.
Most definitely. And compLexity Gaming are going to move on. They are our North American hope in this tournament. So all you North Americans out there, and if you're 3/5 European, then also root for us, root for them. End up moving on into the next round of this, which is going to be the LAN finals, as I mentioned, in Minsk, Belarus. At that lovely, lovely arena. And that's going to do it for us. Thank you guys again for watching.